All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to be exploring George Orwell's Animal Farm.
Mm.
It's a book that's been on my list forever, and I'm really excited to finally dig into it with you.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason.
For sure. So we've got some excerpts from the text here, and I'm already intrigued by this world of rebellion, these talking animals, and all the big questions it raises.
Right.
I mean, a society built on equality sounds great in theory, but what happens when the power starts to shift?
Exactly. And that's what makes Animal Farm so compelling. It's this layered allegory, a commentary on political systems and how power dynamics play out no matter who is in charge.
No matter who's in charge, yeah. So we start off on this farm, Manor Farm, and we meet the animals living under the rule of Mr. Jones.
Hmm.
And from what I've read so far, he doesn't seem like the kindest, most attentive farm owner.
Well, the text paints a pretty clear picture of neglect. The animals are overworked, they're hungry, and they're just desperate for something better.
Yeah, you can sense that desperation, that longing for change.
And that's a key point because it sets the stage for everything that follows.
Right, and then enters old Major, this wise old pig,
Ow, Major.
who really gets the animals thinking about a different kind of life.
He's kind of a revolutionary figure, despite the name, right? He has this vision, this dream of an animal-run society, free from human tyranny.
Free from humans.
And that idea, it just ignites this spark of hope in the other animals.
Yeah, it's such a powerful vision, this idea that they
Right.
can control their own destiny, create a world of true equality.
The way Orwell describes it, his speech, and then that song, Beasts of England,
Yeah.
they become so central to the animals' movement.
Lease of England, yeah, I was going to mention that. It's such a powerful anthem.
Right. You can almost feel the energy and hope building as they sing it.
Oh, totally. You can feel that sense of unity, their longing for freedom.
It becomes this unifying force,
Yeah.
a way to spread their message and rally support.
It's interesting, though, how quickly things escalate from there.
Hmm.
I mean, one day they're suffering under Mr. Jones, and the next, bam, revolution.
Well, that's how revolutions sometimes happen, right? It's like a sudden eruption of all that pent-up frustration and anger.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like Mr. Jones's drunken negligence is the final straw, and the animals just can't take it anymore.
They're driven by instinct at that point, by hunger and years of mistreatment.
It's such a vivid scene, the way they chase Jones off the farm, wearing his clothes, burning those whips.
Yeah, it's symbolic, isn't it?
Very symbolic, like they're casting off everything that represents their oppression.
They're rejecting their old way of life completely.
Right. They rename the animal farm, establish those 7 commandments, and it feels like a whole new world is opening up for them.
Full of hope and possibility.
But even then, you can already see the seeds of, I don't know, future problems being planted.
What do you mean?
Well, like how the pigs, especially Snowball and Napoleon, start to take on more leadership roles.
Right. The pigs with their superior intellect, as they like to say.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you think about how power dynamics can emerge even in a revolution that's all about equality.
It's an interesting paradox, isn't it? You have Snowball, who's full of ideas and charisma, and then Napoleon, who's more cunning and seems to be working behind the scenes.
And then there's Squealer, right?
Squealer, the master of persuasion.
He becomes their mouthpiece, their spin doctor.
Exactly. He's essential to how they shape the narrative and control the flow of information.
And one of the first things that struck me as kind of fishy was that whole milk and apples situation.
Oh, yeah. The disappearing milk and apples. That's a key moment.
I mean, they just vanish, and the pigs have this very convenient
We
explanation.
need it for our brain work,
Right, it's for the good of the farm. It's like they're already setting themselves apart,
elevating themselves to a different status.
which is kind of ironic given their whole mantra about equality.
It's a subtle power grab, really.
And the other animals just buy it. They're so afraid of Jones coming back, so hopeful for this new life to work, that they don't question it.
Fear can be a powerful tool for control.
Definitely. It stops them from speaking out, from challenging the pigs.
And that fear is something the pigs will use again and again as this story goes on.
It's scary how effective it is.
It is. But we should probably take a break here and come back to this next time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There's a lot more to unpack in Animal Farm, and I can't wait to get into the rest of it with you.
Me too. See you next time.
Okay, so last time we left off with the pigs kind of subtly consolidating their power on Animal Farm.
Right. Using fear and clever justifications to get their way.
Yeah, and that whole milk and apple situation, that really stood out to me.
Absolutely. It was a sign of things to come.
So as we move on in the story, one of the big things that happens is Napoleon decides to start trading with the neighboring farms.
The controversial move, for sure.
Right. I mean, one of their founding principles was to be completely independent from humans.
You remember Old Major's speech? Whatever goes upon two legs is an enemy.
Exactly. And yet, here's Napoleon making deals with those very same humans.
Well, he justifies it by saying they need certain materials for the windmill.
Yeah, for the good of the farm, right?
Right. But you can sense the unease among the other animals.
Oh, totally. They're not happy about it, but what can they do?
They trust Napoleon.
Or maybe they're just too scared to challenge him.
Well, there's that too, that underlying fear.
And of course, Squealer's right there to spin the whole thing.
Oh, Squealer.
Oh.
He's a master at that.
I mean, he actually convinces them that there was never any resolution against trading.
Which is a blatant lie. We, the readers, know that's not true.
Right. But the animals, they don't have access to that information.
So they believe him. They believe Squealer.
He's so manipulative, so good with words.
It's chilling to see how easily he distorts the truth.
So they start trading, and we're introduced to this new character, Mr. Whymper.
Ah, Mr. Whymper, the human solicitor.
Yeah, he's like the middleman between Animal Farm and the outside world.
It's interesting to see how Napoleon uses him to play Pilkington and Frederick against each other.
Those two neighboring farmers, right?
Yeah. Pilkington, the easygoing one, and Frederick, the tough one.
Napoleon's pretty shrewd about it, gotta give him that.
He's learning the game of power quickly.
But things on the farm don't always go smoothly.
Of course not. What kind of story would that be?
Right. And whenever something goes wrong, a bad harvest or a storm, guess who gets blamed?
Snowball.
Snowball. It's like he's become this invisible enemy.
A scapegoat.
Yeah, a scapegoat for everything that goes wrong.
Classic propaganda technique.
Right. It unifies the animals against this common enemy and takes the attention away from Napoleon and his mistakes.
It's incredibly effective.
And you can see how the animals start to get more and more paranoid.
Afraid of Snowball's supposed spies and saboteurs.
Living in constant fear.
Which, again, plays right into Napoleon's hands.
And then we have one of the most heartbreaking parts of the story, the hens' rebellion.
Oh, yes, when they refuse to give up their eggs.
It's such a brave act of defiance, you know? They're standing up for themselves, for what little they have left.
And Napoleon, how does he react?
Brutally. He starves them into submission.
A terrifying display of power.
It shows just how far he's willing to go to maintain control.
Any dissent will be crushed.
And then things get even darker.
Oh.
We have the forced confessions, the public execution.
Reign of terror begins.
Exactly. Animals are accused of all sorts of crazy things, plotting with Snowball, undermining the farm.
And it's all based on lies and manipulation.
But the animals are too scared to speak out to defend themselves.
They've learned their lesson, haven't they?
It's so sad to see how this community, which started out with such hope and ideals, has descended into this state of fear and paranoia.
It's a cautionary tale, for sure.
And remember, Clover, she's been questioning things all along, but now she just seems resigned.
She's given up hope.
Yeah, it's like she knows things are wrong, terribly wrong, but she's powerless to do anything about it.
It's heartbreaking to witness.
And the pigs, meanwhile, they continue to twist the commandments to justify their actions.
Like with the sixth commandment, no animal shall kill any other animal. They just add without cause at the end.
So basically anything can be justified now.
The rules mean nothing.
And then we have the tragedy of Boxer.
Boxer. The loyal, hard-working horse.
He's such a sympathetic character, so dedicated to the farm, always pushing himself to the limit.
Always believing in the cause.
But it's that very loyalty that makes him so vulnerable.
Vulnerable to exploitation.
Right. He trusts the pigs completely, even when they're clearly taking advantage of him.
And in the end, they betray him in the most heartless way imaginable.
I mean, to sell him to the glue factory after all he's done for them.
It's a devastating moment.
And of course, Squealer spins a whole story about how Boxer died peacefully in a hospital.
He's a master of propaganda, that Squealer.
I know. It's just sickening to see how he manipulates the truth.
And the other animals. They believe him. They have no reason to doubt him.
They're trapped in this web of lies.
And as time goes on, the pigs, they just get bolder and bolder.
They start behaving more and more like the humans they overthrew.
Walking on two legs, wearing clothes, even carrying whips.
It's like history repeating itself.
Cycle of oppression continues.
And the sheep, remember their chant? It used to be 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Right. One of the core principles of animalism.
Well, now they've changed it to 4 legs good, 2 legs better.
Oh, wow. That's a complete reversal.
It shows how thoroughly the pigs have brainwashed them.
And how far they've strayed from their original ideals.
And then comes the final blow.
What's that?
Clover, who's always been so observant, she notices that the seven commandments have disappeared.
They've been replaced.
With a single sentence etched on the barn wall in big, bold letters. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
Oh, wow, that's just...
I know. It's like the ultimate betrayal of everything they fought for.
It lays bare the hypocrisy at the heart of the pigs' regime.
And it sets the stage for that final haunting scene.
The dinner party,
Right, the dinner party with the neighboring farmers.
where the pigs and humans celebrate together.
Indistinguishable from each other.
The ultimate symbol of the pig's transformation.
And the other animals. They're watching from outside, peering through the window, unable to tell who's who.
It's such a chilling image.
It's like Orwell is saying, look, this is what happens when power corrupts, when revolutions fail, when we let our guard down.
It's a warning to us all.
So what do we do? How do we break this cycle of oppression?
That's the question Animal Farm leaves us with.
It's a question we need to keep asking ourselves every single day. That final commandment, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. It's just so jarring.
It is, isn't it? Because it reveals the true nature of the pig's regime.
Yeah, it's like all those noble ideals of the rebellion, the dream of a just and equal society, it's all been twisted and corrupted.
And that's what makes Animal Farm such a powerful and enduring allegory.
Because it speaks to these universal truths about power and how it can corrupt even the best intentions.
Right. No matter how idealistic a revolution might start, there's always the danger of those in power becoming the very thing they fought against.
And that's exactly what happens here, isn't it? The pigs, they start out wanting to liberate the animals, but in the end, they create a system that's just as oppressive, if not more so, than the one they overthrew.
Exactly. They embrace the same hierarchical structures, the same exploitation, the same disregard for the well-being of those they rule.
And then we have that final scene, that dinner party with the neighboring farmers.
Ah, yes, the dinner party. A powerful symbol of the pig's complete transformation.
They're literally sitting at the same table, drinking, making deals, indistinguishable from the humans they once vowed to overthrow.
It's like a full circle moment, isn't it? A return to the very thing they rebelled against.
And the other animals, they're outside, peering through the window, watching this scene unfold, and they can't even tell the difference between the pigs and the humans anymore.
It's a haunting image, one that really drives home Orwell's message.
It's like he's saying, look, this is what can happen. This is how easily revolutions can be betrayed, how easily power can corrupt, how easily we can fall back into the patterns of the past.
And it's a warning that we need to take seriously, not just in the context of grand political movements, but also in our own lives, in our own communities, in the ways we interact with each other.
Because there are animal farms everywhere, aren't there?
Yeah.
Systems and structures where those in power, the Napoleons of the world, manipulate and exploit others for their own gain.
Right. And there are always those who are willing to go along, the boxers who blindly follow without questioning, and the squealers who twist the truth to serve the powerful.
It's a sobering thought, but it's also a call to action.
It is, because Animal Farm isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that we have a responsibility to be aware, to be critical, to challenge those in power, and to fight for a more just and equitable world.
Because in the end, it's up to us, the individuals, to make sure that the pigs don't take over the farm.
Absolutely. We can't just sit back and assume that progress is inevitable. We have to be active participants in shaping the world we want to live in.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Animal Farm, I hope it's left you with some food for thought, some new insights, and perhaps even a renewed sense of purpose.
Because the lessons of Animal Farm are timeless, and they're as relevant today as they were when Orwell first wrote them.
And that's the power of great literature, isn't it? It makes us think, it makes us question, and it inspires us to act.
So let's keep those conversations going, let's keep challenging the status quo, and let's keep fighting for a better future. A future where all animals, both literal and metaphorical, are truly equal.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating journey.
It has indeed, and thank you for having me.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts passionate.